Okay, so we took care of that. Good call.
I don't know how to respond to that.
And welcome everybody back to the Cheap Seat Critics podcast. I am one of your hosts, Uki, your writer.
I'm Crimson Maroon.
I'm a character called Sinister Boy.
And I'm Sprinks.
Hello, and this week we are covering the pilot for the TV show CW TV show Arrow that stopped airing. Oh God, 2018, I think.
2020, I believe.
Oh wow,
Three years ago.
yeah. Before we go any further than that, Sprinks, you got socials?
I sure do. Thank you all for listening, wherever you're listening from. If you'd like to follow us for any updates or anything that we're coming out in the future for whoever, we have a Instagram and TikTok at Cheap Seat Critics, if you have those and are interested. We also have a Twitter, which is Cheap Seat Critics, ending with an X. And then we have Cheap Seat Critics podcast over on Facebook, as well as youtube.com/ at Cheap Seat Critics if you'd like to see the PNG tubers that we have and our slideshow of whatever we're covering. And we also have a letterbox as well.
Yeah, thank you for that, as always. So, I mean, I'll get some little facts out of the way before I dive into histories, just the basic ones. Uh, season one, episode one, which is what we're covering, aired in October 10th, 2012. Over 10 years ago. God, that makes me feel old. And then this episode was also directed by David Nutter, who's also directed an episode of Game of Thrones, which is where I know him from.
Oh.
And then the uh, pilot also won multiple Leo Awards, including Best Cinematography in a Dramatic Series, and Best Production Design in a Dramatic Series, and Best Stuntman Coordination in a Dramatic Series. And
Very
which is
specific.
true. Which is oddly specific. But Stefan Amell does the guy who plays Arrow does most of those stunts himself, for better or for worse. So
Real Tom Cruise, I see.
Those
yeah, pretty much.
awards, those awards were for singly just the pilot or for a season of the show.
No, it seems to be just the pilot. For one episode. It's
Interesting.
phrased as the pilot won multiple awards. So
Oh, the
um,
awards could have happened after the pilot or something.
yeah. Um, and I do think the stunt choreography one is deserved because even I remember some of the stunt choreography from this show, and I think I've like in my head choreographed fights between my characters based off the show in some cases. And obviously, I do think that peters off with the quality of the show, but I guess that will lead into our history. So, Crimson, why don't you start with your history of Arrow, if any?
Wonderful. So I watched this when it came out, up until I thought Deathstroke was introduced, and I didn't remember this pilot at all while watching it for the podcast. So now I'm not sure if I saw from the beginning or I just picked up episodes here and there. Really don't remember at this point. Because I thought watching this, I'd get flooded with, oh man, I remember all this. Oh, I remember that. That's great. Nothing. Not a single thing
No
came to
member
me.
berries, huh?
Nothing at all. So I don't know if I've seen the pilot or if this was my first time. That is pretty much well, and I guess just since it started the Arrowverse, I saw first two seasons of Supergirl because that's part of the Arrowverse, and have I seen anything else? I don't think I've seen anything else. I think I saw a little bit of The Flash, one episode of The Flash.
All right, Sinister.
Um, I mean, I've heard of this show, and I know it was on a lot. When I was a little bit younger and everything, and I didn't really have much interest in that time in kind of superhero like TV shows because Marvel was a big thing, and so like CW show on Green Arrow wasn't big and big thing for me, but this did launch the Arrowverse. No, I couldn't say that with a straight face. The Arrowverse is
It's a funny name, but it's
it's
true.
a yeah, it's there's well, we'll leave it at B. Um, was remarkably surprised that this pilot was better than I thought it was gonna be. I thought it would be a lot cheesier than it, ended up being.
Yeah,
I can kinda see why it kind of went, for 8 seasons apparently after this. Um, yeah.
yeah. I kind of agree with you on there as far as the cheese factor is concerned, because they do restrain that a lot for even during later seasons. They overcommit to the drama, but they avoid a lot of things being overly cheesy. So,
Mhm.
Springs.
Well, first for context, in case anyone's curious, when writer earlier said characters, he meant of choreography for his characters in his writing. In case anyone was curious on that. Um, but for history, uh, I this is my third time seeing the pilot. I never saw it air live. I guess when it came out. Um, guess it's about it. Unless you want me to follow in suit and go through my whole CW Arrowverse history.
Yeah, may as well give some of your Arrowverse history.
Okay, I've seen the show up to the point of Deadshot, and then stopped because I didn't like their take on Deadshot. Being a big Batman fan. I've seen glimpses of crossover episodes of I think Earth X and things like that of the Arrowverse. I've seen one episode of Supergirl. I've seen the first three, like 3.5 seasons of The Flash. Um, I've seen a couple episodes of DC Legends of Tomorrow. Uh, I have not seen anything. I believe Superman and Lois is the connected Arrowverse show.
I think
Uh,
it's a new one. Yeah.
yeah, I haven't seen anything on that because unfortunately, most of my time when it came to CW shows was taken over of my friends and I watching Riverdale, which engrossed us more. So,
For better or for worse, another CW show. Yeah, all right, I'll give my brief history. So I actually was a big fan of Green Arrow from the early 2000s animated Justice League series. That's where I knew him best from. And I'm like, oh, cool, they're doing a show on him. But I didn't watch it live. But eventually, all the Arrow, the first whole season came to Netflix one year. I think this is 2015 ish. And I remember binging it because I had the free time to do it back then. Then I always used to play it as background noise while I was like grinding out a video game or among other things. So I have seen the first season at least twice, but I've listened to it slash half watched it many more than that. I think it's in the 6 7 range. Me watching the first 2 seasons of Arrow. Um, then I kind of petered out off of Arrow after season 3. They it kind of just I lost interest. And my interest in quote unquote the Arrowverse went over to the CW's Flash. And Springs and I actually watched up to the a little over the fourth season because that's where we got turned off really badly by it. Um, and then I've only seen 5 or 6 episodes of Supergirl. I pretty much watched up until her first crossover episode with the Flash, and that's when I stopped. And I watched, I think, the first major crossover between in the Arrowverse with Supergirl, Flash, the Legends, and Arrow, which was against the alien force, the Dominators. Very, very peaceful sounding alien species, I know. Um, then I think I watched the first season of Legend, and then I also bowed out of that. And the only reason I watched Legend is because Rory was in it from Doctor Who. I don't know the actor's
Uh,
name.
but you're leaving out a very important one, writer, Stargirl.
Is that the Arrowverse?
Well, it's not the Arrowverse, but it's CW, so
oh,
I imagined it would be connected in some way.
uh, Black Lightning is also Arrowverse. I've seen an episode or two of Black Lightning.
That existed.
As you can
Same with
see,
Stargirl.
Arrowverse kind of exploded, so it was very hard to keep track of.
It's a it's weird that it's the Arrowverse, not just the DC verse or something. Like it has, they all have
Yeah,
to be connected to Arrow. Arrow is the original point of contact.
yeah. Well, it's because
Well,
usually the
Naomi is that one as well. Not sure.
Uh,
Is that a Marvel one?
Naomi?
Yeah,
Don't recognize that one.
I don't.
that had one season.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, like the DC universe, we would confuse that with like the movies potentially because there's a lot of other DC universes that's been like rebooted
I
so many
guess. Yeah.
times in the last 2 decades. It feels like, or not necessarily rebooted, but it's just a lot of things are disconnected and disjointed. Like the Nolan movies are their own separate universe. We refer to the Snyderverse as the Snyderverse slash the DCEU, but that's going to get rebooted eventually. So Arrowverse works kind of, I think, is a name for it, even if it's kind of funny, because I mean, it is what kickstarted all the other superhero
Oh,
shows on the CW. So
Batwoman is connected to the Arrowverse.
that
Ah,
is
yes.
true. We have
Uh,
seen some of
Damn it, I've
Batwoman.
seen an episode of Batwoman as well.
Yeah, to be fair, we all tried to block that one out, and who
Simply
could blame us?
simply for the fact and respect of Kevin Conroy. That was it's the only
That's
reason
the
I saw
only
that.
episode you
That's the
watched?
only episode I watched because it had Kevin Conroy.
I'm so sorry how much they disrespected him.
And then there was a crossover with Constantine, but it's not technically connected.
Mhm. Um, but yeah, our format today is just going to be kind of popcorning around because the synopsis is of this first
Yeah.
episode, is pretty simple.
Yeah, Crimson can
Crimson.
do it right now.
Well, I'm on the spot now. We got Oliver Queen, who got stuck on an island for 5 years, returns, uh, gives justice to the bad guys by killing a lot of them. That's the pilot.
That was better than the one you did earlier.
Yeah, it's an improvement. I like it.
Even
Um,
shorter.
yeah. So that's pretty much the synopsis in the episode. Obviously, there's a lot of drama and context to be added into that, but that's pretty much the summary of the story for this one.
Pretty much.
So I figure I'll start us off. Sinister, why don't you take it away with the first point?
Yeah, first point. Um, I like the use of flashbacks in this. I think it's very easy for it to be kind of just like a clip show esque thing or something, but I think they actually have it so that it kind of flows in with what's going on in the story pretty well, which I appreciate. Like when he's back home and he's sleeping on the floor, and then it cuts to he's on the life raft. You know,
Yeah, with rain pouring on him while he's sleeping on
yeah,
the floor. Yeah.
yeah. It's that I like this the like how that was set up and everything. I don't. Probably the ones that are most out of place are just probably like where they're just still on the yacht. Those are probably the closest ones, but I think those still work pretty well.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's it. I guess it's the other good thing about him is that you get glimpses of the what would you consider the Bruce Wayne versus the Batman persona, I guess, if you wanted to,
I mean, yeah,
because
it's a double life.
yeah,
There's a reason why in the comics, both Batman and Green Arrow are really good friends slash close allies, is they have a very similar outlook. Usually, Green Arrow is just a little more cheery.
yeah, I think that was probably one thing that at least in the pilot, I don't know, maybe it gets better in the thing, is that for most of it, he doesn't really feel like he fits into like the Bruce Wayne personality of like being, because it doesn't feel like he has the front of being like the playboy party guy. He seems too serious a lot of the times. He fixes it more towards the end of this episode, um, but I think I don't know. It just feels very obvious that he's not as jovial as he's letting on, kind of thing. Or I don't know. It's my one thing.
Yeah, I could sort of get that. I mean, I'm kind of happy they do fix it within the episode. Like they do like show the duality of it by the end,
Yeah,
because it is a TV show, so they can take their time with that.
yeah.
But I sort of understand your takeaway is that he's obviously a little more on the brooding side
Hmm.
this time around. So
It's just
Well, to bring up the connection of Arrow to Batman, Green Arrow or Oliver Queen was invented due to the fact that Batman comics were getting too dark of the character, so they invented Green Arrow to be similar to Batman but more of a cheerier mood,
Hmm.
to help balance that out.
It's I guess it kind of makes this rendition of the Green Arrow character even better or more interesting. Not even better. It's just more interesting in that sense that like because Batman is the most popular character in the DC universe by far and away. Like it's interesting now that they're trying to emulate that a little bit with here with Green Arrow
Yeah.
to a degree. Um,
CW
Yeah.
grittiness.
yeah,
Yeah.
you
I've
know
only I've
what
only
CW classifies as grittiness. um,
only having pretty much the pilot because I don't remember too much of what I've seen, obviously, based off of what I've stated.
Yeah.
Um, it was a little weird because my exposure to Green Arrow is pretty much just the Injustice games. I didn't really watch the animated Justice League stuff that I know he's a part of.
mhm.
So it was weird seeing more of a darker side to him because he doesn't really joke around that much in this, at least in the pilot.
Yeah.
I don't know if progressing through the show that increases as the
Um,
drama increases because of the CW show.
I
Uh,
actually think they managed to do a good job of keeping him straight faced. The comedy that ensues is usually like characters like the Flash playing off of him, or his eventually his formed teammates when the Arrow gets his own team to help him out. You know, the people in the chair and sidekicks, what have you.
Random shit.
The serious, they usually bounce off of his seriousness. Very, very rarely does he ever crack a joke. Because I think the closest that you can get with it is like the whole really at the very end where he's where he's facing down Adam Hunt and Adam Hunt tries him like you missed and he just tilts his head. Really, that's pretty much the closest you get, I think, to him cracking a
Yeah.
joke for at least the first few seasons
Hmm.
while in the
well, that's
suit.
interesting then, because I mean, Sprinks brought it up. It's kind of a core component of his character, at least in the comics.
I believe a reason for it is because, at least for me, the Arrowverse is the secondary DC heroes of their time. There's no, I mean, they did get to Superman eventually, but there's no Wonder Woman, no Batman. I think they briefly touch Green Lantern at some point in the Arrowverse. I don't know. I think Martian Manhunter's in there.
Supergirl,
Yes,
yeah.
he is. Martian Manhunter's introduced more properly during I think it's Supergirl's show.
Okay. But I
Yeah,
don't know if
he's
they have characters
Heavily
like
involved in that.
Blue Beetle, Booster Gold, Red Tornado. I don't think any of those are in
Uh,
there.
Yeah. Those big
Red
main guys.
Tornado is in Supergirl.
Oh, Red Tornado is? Oh, okay. Cyborg. I don't think Cyborg's in here.
No, he's in.
Well, that's in Titans. Is Titans part of this, or is that
I don't think
its own
Titans
I
thing?
is
don't
connected.
I
Titans
don't
is
think
not connected.
so. I think there were talks about trying to connect the two, but I know that's not. But I'll tell you what
Okay.
though, the Snyderverse is connected to the Arrowverse because the Flash makes an
Yes.
appearance in the
Ezra
Flash.
Miller Flash had a connection.
Does have a cameo.
Well, I mean, that's just multiverse, though. And that anything could be in
Yeah,
that
yeah,
then.
but yeah.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
think that was my only kind of little gripe is I thought he was more serious than other versions of him that I've kind of used to, and it
yeah.
was but a little off. But if they I think overall it works more than it doesn't.
Yeah, I think because again, I have seen the Injustice games, but again, my first experience with Green Arrow is the Justice League Unlimited animated series from the early
Yeah, that's a
2000s.
good one.
So he's more jovial and is more sarcastic in that one. And I've seen a few of the DC animated shorts as well with him in it. Um, and so I'm trying to think back to my initial reaction because again, I watched this a while ago for the first time, and I don't. I think I just rolled with it. Like I think it was odd, but I'm like Batman's my favorite character, and Green Arrow and him are similar. So the fact that they're trying to make them more similar to me just didn't really cause an issue for me. And now I've seen the first season of Arrow enough times where it's not really a bother, I guess.
Yeah.
Ryder, remind me, in Justice League Unlimited, was Green Arrow married to Black Canary?
Oh, they were dating.
They were dating.
No, they are officially a couple by the end, but they get to know each other throughout the course of
Okay.
that show.
So in that show, he also has that flirtatious humor to add on
Yeah.
to his character.
Yeah.
He's also in Young Justice. That's the other thing that I
Oh
am.
yeah, I always forget about Young Justice. I don't know why. It's such a good show.
Yeah.
Underrated.
Weird joke.
Uh, yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Those animated ones, they
Springs.
usually fuck up the villains.
Springs, do you got a point?
Oh boy, what's a good point to go to? When we covered in this season Dead Alive, talked about some of the cinematography usage and whatnot of how just a lot of it was condensed in a minute or so. Um, in this, I feel like this did very well with cinematography of kind of like accordion pulled out what Dead Alive did and just like spread it throughout the whole pilot of having shaky cam, handheld, pan shot, tracking shot, reflection shot of lined up with the car window, which I think was beautifully done. A Dutch angle. Um, it didn't have a dolly zoom, but uh,
No.
close up. I don't think there was an extreme close up in this, but just very good different shots used and utilized in their scenes where needed, where nothing was over the top, and they were very beautifully also crafted together with transition scenes.
Yeah. I think the only close up I can think of, like extreme, I don't know how you define extreme close up. The whole close up I can think of is when they zoom in onto his face covered in a beard and hair when he's first on the island
I
being
consider that a
rescued.
close up.
That's
To me,
just a close
yeah,
up.
to me, an extreme
Okay.
close up is one article of facial or recognizable thing. So like if it's just the mouth or one eyeball or
Okay. That's fair.
Brain.
but yes,
Um,
very a lot of good shots. And I guess if I can go into the transitions that I picked up that I liked,
Yeah.
there was the one of Sarah going down the hallway, which then spun around to Oliver breaching the surface of the water.
yeah, that was a good transition.
It was really good. Also, the lightning of him looking in the mirror, seeing the green arrow in the mirror as a softer approach to then doing the lightning white light cut to the boat. So it wasn't just one strike of lightning to get there, which would have been a little more corny.
It had more build up, is what you're
Yeah.
saying. Yeah.
What was another transition? I think there was another one I liked. Those are the two that come right to mind, though.
Yeah,
Uh,
I like the water one.
yeah, water one was. I think the water one was that was definitely my favorite for transitions.
Though about the water one, I guess, given praise, can talk about something that was a bit scuffed. I don't think that's how gravity works on a boat. I think it would have been capsized at the point of the bed going, full vertical upwards to them hitting the back wall.
Yeah, probably.
Then again, we didn't get a
Well,
full look
that's
at the
assuming it's
whole.
vertical at that point.
Yeah, we didn't get to see a look at the whole entire yacht to know its actual size. But
You do later in the show. Um, I'm kind of yeah, I could sort of see that. Yeah, might be a small nick.
also, when Sarah got pulled into the hallway with water, which I guess goes
Hmm.
into gravity that the boat was on its side to pull her out into the hallway rather than, water current literally taking her ankle to drag her out of the room. So I took
Yeah,
that upon as being
It
gravity to work,
can
but
pull people when it's
yeah,
filling up corridors. That's definitely
Because
that's
a
it's the
thing that
definitely
suction,
happens.
the suction of
yeah.
like the water coming.
That's a huge thing when ships are actually sinking. One of the if you're ever on a ship that's sinking, one of the advices they tell you is you need if you are like on the deck of a ship that's going down and you're going to stand on that deck of the ship until it's like as it goes underwater, you need to swim up with all your might for about 30 seconds to avoid getting sucked down with the ship, even if
water
you're standing on
buoyancy
top of it. Yeah. So
or water
I
displacement. Sorry.
yeah. So it's definitely yeah, it's a rough way to go. More or less.
And then she'll
Um
return as a
Different
superhero or
actress
supervillain with water powers.
Yeah,
and different actress.
not too far.
Um
Yeah,
one of the I think I had one shot that bothered me in the very beginning where he's running across the island. There's a transition where uh, he's kind of leaping across the rocks, and then it cuts away to him like over behind to the shot behind him where he jumps down. The landscape in front of him changes during that shot. It's a little minor nitpick, but just pointing it out. He could have just obviously it's not a huge issue. Just
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
very first note I have in my notes is bad beard parkour. That's the first thing I wrote down.
Yeah.
yeah,
That beard
it,
looked terrible.
yes, yes. I hear it. So I think it's season 6 where the flashbacks finally ended. At that point, I had stopped watching, but I did watch a compilation video. Um, One of the things about that beard is it is actually fake. No, 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 and I mean like, obviously
In
it's fake.
universe, that's
Yeah,
fake.
in universe it's fake.
Okay.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, 'cause he's got to cover up the fact of what was going on the whole
On the
time.
island.
yeah.
Uh,
Which I thought was interesting. Because this is kind of spoilers. I think it's season four's flashbacks. He starts having adventures off the island.
Okay.
Meets characters like Amanda Waller, among other things.
Oh, is it Viola
She
Davis?
Is it time to
she's too
squad up?
expensive for that.
Yeah. No, if it was Viola Davis, then you could connect it to the gun universe. And
Gun.
I don't know. I don't know. Is there a name for the universe of
That's
James Gunn's?
DCEU because that's
That's
the
EU
Ben
because of Harley
Affleck
Quinn.
Batman, isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ben Affleck
Until
Batman.
the DCEU is dead, we call it the DCEU.
Okay.
Um, I thought it'd be interesting to note that maritime law does require seafarers to do quote unquote the right thing, and are all usually are willing to like they maritime law often requires people to go help like people who are stranded and things of that
Yeah.
nature, which is nice.
Yep.
I kind of
Mhm.
how it kind of helps the strangers seeing the explosion and just coming over, which would be I think a bit of an intimidating experience.
They were
Uh,
speaking Mandarin, correct?
They were speaking Mandarin, yes.
Okay.
The subtitles on my thing said they were speaking Chinese.
Yeah, but it's specifically Mandarin.
Okay.
And Arrow does learn Mandarin off the island, I think,
And Russian. Um,
and Russian. Yes.
but I was just thinking of what was the because I don't think it's said of the initial destination and plot or plotted course of the cruise ship or the yacht ship,
The yacht ship,
which I'm guessing
for
departed from Starling City. Is that the right one?
okay, yeah, I'll spoil this for you. The ship
Starting.
is the ship is actually on its way to China.
Okay, but did it
They
start from Starling, or I guess
Yes,
okay,
it does depart from Starling City
which
port.
is essentially New Jersey? Yes. Trying to picture it
Yeah.
all in my head in the fictional
Well,
world because
in
Gotham's
I
north.
I
I
don't
think
know
I
I
think
don't know the
Bloodhaven
translations.
Bloodhaven
isn't
is
Bloodhaven.
south of Gotham. I think
Yeah, but
Starling
isn't that
City
supposed to be like
and
Jersey?
Bloodhaven? No, I think Bloodhaven's
I
still
thought
technically New
I
York.
always thought Bloodhaven was supposed to be.
Um, what's the what's Flash from?
Uh,
Oh,
Central City.
Central City.
this.
Starling City and Central City, I think, are north of Metropolis. Yes.
No, Bloodhaven is in New Jersey between
Oh,
Gotham City
Bloodhaven
and
is New
Atlantic
Jersey.
City.
Okay.
Yeah, but Starling City, I don't know. Starling City.
My guess would be Vancouver, Canada, judging by the filming location. But
Yeah,
Well,
CW.
fictional world. You know.
yeah,
Downtown Seattle, apparently.
Downtown
Ew.
Seattle for what?
Starling City.
That's interesting, and actually that makes the
Ah,
geography a lot more sense.
is that true? Is that where Starling
Uh,
City is?
yeah. Well,
I thought it was West
it,
Coast or East Coast. Sorry, I thought it
But
was East Coast. Huh.
I mean, that actually works more in favor of the show because it'd be an issue if they were just taking a small yacht to China from the East
yeah.
Coast.
Yeah, that's why I was questioning it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's just a mistake on my end then. Huh.
Yeah, good.
Crimson, you have a point.
Yeah, bad beard. No, let's
That was
go
the
back
whole.
to one of the raft scenes here.
Okay.
Part where the dad
Dada.
uh, offed himself.
Oh, you
The
talking about his
way he
aim?
pulled, yeah, he popped
Wait,
the raft. The
no.
angle that he aimed at his head was aimed directly at the side flotation. It wasn't at the floor. It was at the sides.
I
That's if the bullet travels all the way through his skull.
Which it wouldn't because
Yeah.
of
oh,
the
it was a
Uh-huh.
revolver magnum to the temple of his head. Yeah.
Good chance it went through. Not guaranteed. Very good chance
also
it
you're
did.
not supposed to. That wouldn't kill him anyways.
What do you mean it
I'm
wouldn't
pretty sure
kill
that
him?
would kill
Yeah.
him.
Well, no. It wouldn't kill him because when you have the gun on the side of your temple, your brain, so you're more likely to get like a. You wouldn't either. He's gonna be mentally handicapped or he's gonna be fine. That's like the only because you're supposed to. No, I'm not gonna say that because that will people with suicide and everything. But just saying, if you put it on the temple, you're less likely to actually hit something vital than if you do it a different way.
Yeah, I would
Think you
agree
bring
if
up
there was.
special cases, but
I'm just saying
I agree with there's
that's
a likelihood of that, yeah. But for what the show did is it did kill him.
what yeah, I'm
At least not believing.
obviously it did kill him. It
I
did
mean,
kill
yeah.
him, but I'm saying in an actual situation, he's more likely it's 50-50 on whether he would actually die or be either mentally handicapped or just minorly wounded.
Yeah, unless Ryder, there's a flashback, that shows, Oliver kind of going with his dad through a all quiet on the Western Front all nighter with his dad bleeding out kind of situation.
No, he,
Okay.
he just died. um,
That's why I don't do nitpicks.
um,
But off of what Crimson said, I agreed the angle would have hit the boat or raft.
I don't remember that
Raffo
scene well, so I'm gonna have to just
at
concede.
the
So,
end.
yeah.
He's holding it downward from his head. It's not
Oh, he's weak.
straight
Oh,
angled.
yeah,
oh, yeah.
it was angled towards the wall. I say the wall specifically
The
because typically
wall.
those rafts, the bottom is not inflated.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
The
a
walls
flat.
are,
Yeah.
but the angle it is, it would have hit the wall if it went through his head.
And with the caliber of
Uh,
weaponry, I would agree.
I speaking on that same scene, I like the little detail of the guy sitting on all the rations with the knife out so that nobody can go at him.
Oh yeah, unless you bring a
oh,
gun to a
yeah.
knife fight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hence why hence why Oliver's dad just took him out.
Yeah.
along with all the supplies he had on him.
No. Boxes of supplies.
He took the knife with him at least. I don't know
Yeah?
what else he had.
Is that a supply?
I
Uh,
mean, that's kind of an important object when surviving.
They
yeah,
Has it
should
I
have
pretty
got-
used
handy.
their life jackets to use the string and the cording, and then use some of the rations to do fishing. Gotten more food that way.
Yeah.
Mr. Shriver expert over here.
Oh, sorry, it was
They
just a
He's
suggestion.
watched all 5 seasons of Lost.
No,
You're right.
multiple times.
we'll touch on that comment that appeared in this, and it's 6 seasons.
Oh yeah. By the way, this is the show that
Nerd,
spoiled Lost
got
for me. By the
you.
way.
You got me.
Yeah. By the way, this is
You've
the
been
show that
added.
spoiled Lost for me. By the way.
Uh,
No,
so ish.
no. It gave a theory. Okay, it gave a single thing. It's slightly irritating. It shows me about Tommy's character, if that's what he believed. He did say I think, but he's leaning towards that. But
Well, that's the comedy part, I think.
yeah,
Because you don't know.
It's very yeah. I've heard the ending is just ambiguous, but most people consider them to be dead.
That's what the untrue
Most consider it
fans
just to be a bad ending.
Oh,
We'll get there when we get there.
this owner. Oh,
I do have something to praise about the show. I think they condensed a lot of the world building really, really quickly with Oliver's narration. and then we have the news report, so we get to see just a brief glimpse of what he was like before the accident. Like him pushing a reporter around, like being a playboy in the flashback, which contrasts to the next shot of him that we see, which is him in the hospital, like staring stoically out the window, and the doctor filling in his mom about his condition and all the
Mm.
scars. So
Real convenient
they,
that they blurred out the X-rays behind the doctor, because I don't think they match up to the description he gives.
I didn't
about
notice.
fractures that
Were
aren't
they
properly healed.
just blurred, or was it like a depth of field where everything was
I
I
think
like
it
think it
was
blurred?
a
was
depth
depth
of
of
field.
field, but you the
Oh,
audience
okay.
can't see and make them
Yeah,
out.
that would be weird if they like got a bunch of people's like actual like X-rays, and so they had to blur them out on screen because it was a invasion of privacy.
I don't think the X-ray images matched up to the description the doctor was giving of Oliver.
We'll
I
see.
think they were
You
just
just said you couldn't
stand-in
see
prop.
them,
Well, I think that's the reason why you couldn't see them.
so you're still.
I'm thinking the reason you
Uh,
couldn't see them or they were used in a shot is because they didn't have the matching to the description, so they just have them for prop and background.
could be, could not
That's
be.
why there's only one shot of the doctor.
The doctor.
There's actually two, but
Okay, the
I get
over the
your
shoulder one with the mom, I guess counts. I meant the onward facing one of the doctor.
um.
I like his haircut before the island more than the one he has in the future.
Oh, his
His yeah,
uh,
rich boy
preppy
pompadour. What?
boy. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I like that better.
The Prince Charming.
he looked like a completely different person with that
I
hair.
know. I kept like, wait, is his hair different? And
He also
I
doesn't
was like,
have
oh, it is.
stubble.
Well,
He's
yeah.
clean
Well,
shaved.
he, yeah.
They do a good job of, like visually making the visual distinction between the two different Olivers. I
Yeah.
think. I think the worst of one of it is when he's screaming Sarah's name after the ship. I think that was the one time that like he looked.
Sarah,
Yeah, the one where
Sarah.
he. Yeah, the one time where he looked. I guess the closest to his modern day version self.
Oh, that's because his hair was wet, and so it looked like
Yeah,
a.
his hair was wet. We could see the stubs in his hair.
I have a question
But yeah,
to bring up. When Oliver reunites with his mom and sees Walter and the maid, whose name escapes me,
Raisa, I
Raza,
think is Rasa.
Reza.
Yeah.
yeah, Reza. Oliver turns, and I think Reza says something about like who's coming for dinner, or the mom says it, and the mom asks Oliver if he heard that. Uh I'm on the side that when she said that, she meant of who's coming to dinner and not the sound of the door opening from upstairs. Because I believe
Yeah, I
it
could
could
It
be
see that
doesn't
seen as
person.
either
matter.
way.
It doesn't really change anything either way.
I mean,
Mhm.
no, but just something that could be brought up as two different ways of seeing it. I was just curious which way
Um.
you lean towards.
What a
Oh, I lean towards the him. Well, that's what the mother's referring to. I think she's referring to the dinner, but Oliver's clearly listening to the his sister coming down the stairs.
hmm, I what a speaking of the dinner, what a subtle way of saying, "Oh, so you moved on from my dad, Walter. I didn't know you wanted to have sex with my mother."
There's a real
And,
quip.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I do like that they just get it out of the way.
yeah.
I was because I upon when I first watched the show, I remember being like, "Oh, please don't drag this on," and they just get it out of the way. I'm like, okay, now I'm more interested to see what they do with it. You know,
And
and
did they do something with it?
actually yes, I quite
Okay,
like
good.
the I actually quite like the what they do with that relationship. They don't do as much as it with it that I would have wanted, but that's personal and subjective. I think they did fine with the
I
choices that they made
yeah,
going forward.
I did like that she immediately looked at his sister and she was like, I didn't say anything."
Yep,
I was too busy
I
doing drugs in my room.
yeah,
Ah,
I and it's one of the
favorite
things
kid.
I do like I said, there's a lot of dialogue here that implies history, and that's another thing I really do like about the dinner scene.
Mhm.
Um, the fact that they probably asked Thea to kind of, keep it on the DL because they don't, want to shock Oliver more than he already is going to be shocked at
Mm.
just being home.
Yeah,
Um,
I will say I think that's something I I think you said this kind of this level of sort of writing only really goes for like the first like 2 seasons, and then it kind of dips progressively through like the rest of like the
yeah,
series. Not can't be sure, you know, until we go through that, I guess, if we if we go through that. But uh I do I was pleasantly surprised at how well done all of like the little bit of a, you know, background information and history stuff was just sort of laid in gradually over time quite well.
yeah. They give you all the immediate information really quickly, and then they backfill the rest of it. Um, I'm actually gonna jump to the end for my next point really quickly. What did you guys think of the reveal that Sarah's dad is the detective?
That felt kind of
Um,
weird.
wasn't too surprising. The moment that was confirmed, I was like, would he be on the case then if he's tied to it?
Yeah,
I wrote that down. I'm kind of 50-50 on it because there's a level of like implicit like you're a police officer. Well, you can do what you want and we'll back you either way. But then there's also the professional aspect to of it, which is you're too close to this, back off. And those distinctions don't really work with police departments as they might in a military in a more militaristic sense.
yeah.
So because the police department really tries stories about police departments tend to try and really blend those two together. And usually those two are blended together in real life because police officers generally can take the cases that they want unless they're explicitly assigned, which can happen, but it's rarer.
I think it's different with detectives. They tend to, if it's like a personal thing, that's because they have a more of a freedom than like a police officer does, and they. But I, I don't know. So it could be, it could not be accurate.
At the bare minimum, it's usually depicted in media that they can't take their own cases connected with them. I don't
You're
know
too
how
close to this
grounded
thing.
that is. Yeah.
Too close to this thing. You're impartial.
I mean, that's why the other detectives are there. Obviously, he's just the
I guess,
centerpiece
yeah.
because he's the one with animosity.
It was just I don't know. I felt like it could have come across earlier. It felt kind of weird that late. Uh, I don't know because they technically talked to him earlier, and it didn't really seem like there was any history there at the moment.
Oh, I
And
got,
then they got
I actually got a lot of history in that
no.
first
Maybe I
one
was
because
just wasn't
it's
paying
more
attention.
like you can tell that he really doesn't like him, which I thought to me implied history.
Yeah, but it could just be like he's a rich guy who got assaulted or whatever. So you know, and he also technically had the whole altercation with the paparazzi, so that could also be a factor. There's a bunch of things that I guess are used as smoke screens so that you wouldn't necessarily jump to, "Oh, that's their dad," or whatever, but
Because obviously the reveal is supposed to recontextualize their previous scenes together as to why
yes.
he's has the animosity towards Oliver. Spriggs, you got something on that? Anything to
Um,
add?
no, I got that there was history after the first interaction of when they're in the house and Oliver's talking about the man in the green hood, and the
Pretty good.
detective says like, "Oh, you know, just another lucky queen," and he's making jokes about like a queen's ransom over a king's like he's not taking it very to heart or serious. And to me, that showed history of him and Oliver in the past. But I took it as Oliver being that very rich boy, kind of gets away with what he wants kind of attitude. And then it was
Mhm.
connected to Sarah, and I think it wasn't so much of a surprise. Well, out of everything in this pilot, it was the most surprising thing to me, I guess, but wasn't that much of him being the father of Sarah and connected through that.
Yeah, because the groundwork is there. It just, which is nice. I am happy that the groundwork is there, and this is there to recontextualize it a bit. Um, because I think I'm the only one again who's seen the pilot multiple times, so watching through knowing that I think does improve the episode a little bit. Obviously, none of you can speak to that, but that would just be my
Well,
my
I've seen
takeaway
the
a little
pilot
bit on it.
3 times. but and
How long in
lawn,
between of
yeah,
those is the
Yeah.
lawn in
thing.
between. So
Yeah, that's fair. So yeah, and I was just curious because I think I was curious just because like I didn't know what to think of that objectively, but because that was one of the things I had to sit on because obviously, as you say, Sinister. That's they do a lot of smoke screen a little bit. They do enough to imply a history, but they don't really go into detail. Like it's mostly just they're obviously aware of each other in the world, kind of thing. And this is supposed to be the reveal that oh yeah, did you even try to save my daughter? Which is a hell of a line to deliver.
Yeah.
do you think they blew the load a little too early, making that a reveal in the first episode?
I mean, that's you kind of have to.
It's
um,
a decision.
Well, it's a
It's
decision.
obviously used as a hook
It's a decision to
to
use that
get people in.
and the mom at the end.
Yeah, the mom
Yeah,
that was really thrown in. I think maybe
yeah,
too early, but
the
I
mom
don't know
thing,
how they deal with that.
yeah, the mom thing, I think is what was a little too early. Because I think his is more of caps off the emotional arc of the duality of life he's going to have to live. You know what I'm saying? So it works as a hook for. I'm speaking to the twist that reveal that he's Sarah's dad. I think it works because it helps to cap off the arc of, like I said, his dual life that he's going to be living, both as the Arrow and Oliver Queen. And this guy hates both of those
yeah,
variations. Um, and I think, like, because you can see that the emotional, he doesn't realize, he's only just realizing the emotional weight that the duality of life is going to put on him. Like, because you can see he's hurt after his talk with Laurel when he pushes her away in the
yeah.
episode. And I think this is him committing and having to be okay with being hurt, almost. So I really like the twist. And this one, that's why it didn't feel tacked onto me, because for me, it's a part of that arc of having to live the dual life. Whereas the mother arc is definitely a hook for the rest of the series. That felt added on. Pass the question along to anyone who else might want to answer
Mm.
that.
Well, for my answering on it, I just thought both in the first episode was a bit too much.
Yeah, I
But I think I prefer the mom reveal in episode and keeping the dad thing a little more secretive, even
yeah.
though it was hinted at strongly. But
I'd rather have the
I'm
the
the
latter.
inverse.
Oh, you'd rather have the dad
I think
all
I
the way.
prefer the Larry Noodle reveal at the pilot, and then the
Larry
mom
Noodle.
one later.
No, he's
Yeah,
saying
Larry
the
Noodle.
dad. The
Larry
dad.
Noodle, good reference.
Yeah, that's who he's referring to. Yeah, Larry
Oh,
Noodle.
Larry Noodle. Oh,
He's referring to the character's
The
name.
detective. Yeah.
Yeah, Warehouse
no,
13.
I thought he was talking about the. I thought Springs was talking about the dad of Oliver. I thought he
Oh
was
no,
and
no,
keeping that
sorry,
secret. Okay,
no, the
yeah,
cop. Sorry,
okay.
the detective.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that's okay. They could have held it, but since it's pilot, I don't know how important that is to the story.
I
If
don't
that's
know.
really needed to be held onto. The mom one felt like that's a big thing that should have held on a little longer. So it's more like a,
yeah,
oh,
push
she
to the next
seems nice
episode.
in the pilot in these next like 4 episodes, and then bang, she's bad all along.
Yeah, that definitely feels more of a CW approach, especially. But I think it could have been played as an emotional, more well written later if flashbacks of Sarah or Laurel were given of a connection to Oliver, or just flashbacks with their dad of how they interacted with one another to show his attitude towards Oliver in an episode, like later down
Mm,
the line.
Well, I guess I'll concede this. I think there's more potential in the reveal for the dad, because there's so much more character interactive drama you can make from that.
Yeah, Jim Gordon.
While I'm okay with the reveal here, I would still have preferred that over the mother's reveal in the first episode. Because the mother's reveal is just very simple. The job of that is just to she's working in the shadows and hired kidnappers for Oliver. Like it's obviously she's not a good person to a degree. So there's less drama you can incite from that other than a hook. At least in
Well,
the way that it's done in the show.
okay, it does something then because of that is that she hired John Diggle to look over Oliver. And that's not for protection then.
I mean, she still has to keep up the persona that he'd been attacked.
Well, true,
Yeah.
but is that just trying to hire an assassin that close to Oliver at all
I mean,
times?
that's something to find out. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Da-da-da.
And
But at
also,
face value, it makes sense that she would hire him to
I
keep
don't think he's good at
the
his job.
persona.
Who?
Diggle, John Diggle.
Diggle.
John Diggle. You
No.
don't think he's good at his job?
He looked through the rearview mirror
Such a
while talking to
stupid name.
Oliver and did not move until Oliver was completely out of the car.
Yeah, I wrote that down
It
too.
was also very silent. There was a slight sound of a door, but it was very quiet.
There was a slight sound of the door opening. You hear a car drive by, like it was getting louder, and like obviously the air was open, and then you do hear the door close as well. But that direction of that was very weird because he was looking in the rearview mirror. Like if he was
Yeah.
still keeping his eye on the road, that would have been less of an issue.
I guess
And
I guess Green Arrow does have superpowers.
oh yeah, he does the
Oh.
Batman I disappear from sight all the time, or he does it a few times this episode.
And then John did no rebuttal attack or counterattack being ex-military when Oliver put his locked his head when he reached for the door at the
Hey,
party.
game recognized game.
Yeah, in that scene, I think is probably one of the biggest flaws to come out of this episode going into the next few episodes, because that right there is never addressed.
Oh, yeah, that
Yeah.
would have definitely been brought up.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I was like. Oh,
Exactly.
that's
So
a bad
I
idea.
obviously, in isolation of the episode, it's fine, but going forward into like episode 2 and 3, that's never addressed. What
Oh.
happens is eventually, which is strange because I think they should have addressed it, because John Diggle eventually becomes one of Oliver's closest partners and confidants.
Obviously, yeah.
So it's strange that that's not addressed going forward. So that I think is a little damning in terms of context of the full scope of the show, but in isolation isn't as big of an issue, though I would prefer John Diggle to have fought back at least a little bit.
Something I saw.
Hey, Oliver, remember that time you knocked me out?
Yeah, something I
Yeah.
saw a little
Good
more
Ha, ha, ha,
damaging.
ha.
I guess a question to all of you: how long did it take Oliver to set up the warehouse?
Like 15 minutes, something like that.
All right, since you're saying 15 minutes, okay.
We montage through it, but legitimately, it could have been anywhere from a day to a week.
Okay.
I can't see it being more than a week, though.
Yeah. Like I said, it can't be more
But there's
than a
no
week.
definitive answer. If you
I
want a definitive answer, I don't
don't
think there's a
see
timeline
how
for
it's feasible with what they've shown. The only way it's feasible is if they show it later in the future that all that equipment was already in the warehouse to start.
Well, I'm
That
just
was a
saying,
metal
it's
workshop.
it's from a day to a week. It could there's plenty of
True,
time to set that
but
up.
after the first interaction instance of your bodyguard losing you, to then being shown the next scene of John Deagle being in the back of the car as like, hey, now I'm really keeping my eye on you and someone else will drive us as a scene, gives me the impression that it was in a span of a day. But then we also
Which is
know,
doable, but
yes, but we also know Oliver has zero money in his account, so he can't pay for any of that equipment.
Okay, his outfit does change like a couple times, so it's not
okay,
it's
so
not the
it's not
same.
John's
over.
outfit
It's
changes.
not over the course of a week.
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
so
I mean,
it's
the
just allowed
interpretation
for
is
Oliver to be disappearing.
Well, no. Oliver's outfit changes in like the montage of.
no. To answer your question, Springs, he could just be ducking his bodyguard the entire week, which is why it eventually leads to him having to hire another driver and him sitting in the backseat of the car with him. So he could be escaping on multiple instances, or he could go out by himself and just not tell anyone. Which
Okay.
is also
Say
kinda
he's
cool.
hanging out with
to,
Tommy
John
and going to
Diggle.
the warehouse. Or...
He can go out at night, or yeah, you could just hang out with Tommy.
He can get
There's
there
ways
by
they can work around it. Thing is, we
Yeah.
don't know definitively anything.
And now, if this is done in the day, it would be a very long day, but it's feasible. The only reason I agree, the only reason I think that it can be done in a day is because I've had to move out of my house in like 6 hours before. So I've had crunch move times and crunch setup times.
Yeah, my
so it's
impression
definitely
is
possible.
is it's during the day because him entering the warehouse is daylight, and there is no part of him leaving or working in the night. Like it doesn't cut to the moon or show a window of the dark. Um,
Yeah, but he changes clothes
he
several
does.
times.
So changing clothes shows that it's more than likely in the span of at least more than a day. Otherwise, he's just changing into gym clothes while he's working on the salmon ladder or something. Um, but then, I mean, I guess that would bring up, as we pointed out, the span of time, and that John Deagle is getting more and more like, okay, now I'm going to watch you more closely. But that also doesn't go to where the equipment came from or how it was bought.
What do you
Because
So
being
mean?
you said he has no money. I don't remember that being said. Where
when
was
he
that?
Where
asked
does it
for
say?
the transition of the money from Adam Hunt to be taken over, and his phone goes off of the alarm, it shows his bank account, Oliver Queen's bank account, was zero
Well, it's
in
That's
it.
the
No, 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 no,
offshore
no.
account.
no,
That's
no,
no,
no.
no,
That's
no, no.
the
That's not
offshore
his bank
account.
account.
Oh, that's
That's
not
his
his
offshore
account.
account.
That's
Okay, that's a
yeah,
separate account.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
account he uses to give all the people who missed out on money, and we get this confirmed slightly because it's in the background for Laura when they're getting phone calls. We see that list of people that they're getting phone calls from.
Yeah, he's smart enough not to put the stolen money in his own account.
Yeah,
Okay, well,
yeah.
all right. I guess
He's a
that helps then.
billionaire.
Yeah, but okay.
yeah. The dad sold the factory or whatever, and so
Yeah,
they're
it
well off.
showed the warehouse abandoned. No one's there. It didn't show how he got the equipment in, unless he's literally just going duffel bag by duffel bag, because that's the only first instance of him going in.
I mean, like
But
once
then
he's
he had
in, once he's in, he can make his own way in and out.
yes, no, no, no,
Also, probably
not.
like
I'm not
a
saying
truck
him.
loading
Yeah,
zone
I'm saying
for
how he
that
got
type
the
of place.
equipment. Is my question? Did he like order the equipment to be delivered to an abandoned warehouse? Did he go and buy it and get it there himself? It seems he doesn't have a car of any means. Tommy drives him and John Deagle drives him.
Well, it's very simple. You just Amazon can deliver to
Yeah,
whatever address you want, and you just pick it up and return it.
2012
Amazon.
Amazon.
I guess I
Trying
just
to
wish in
think.
the montage it showed where it came from.
We just don't know the time.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean
Yeah.
that's
if it's within a week, I think he can scrounge up resources to get all that there.
With the changing
But
clothes,
we don't
my
know.
inclination is that it at minimum it's probably 3 days, at minimum, but at most it would be a week.
I could see 3 or 4 days.
Also, his arsenal on the table, was that all in his crate or was some of that crafted there?
The only
Because
Well,
we
thing I
see him
saw in the
sharpen it.
crate was the bow, the book, and some sort of
Yeah.
cloth.
So no. So okay, this is spoilers for future episodes. How Oliver gets arrows is he orders them in parts from different companies and has them sent to different locations that he picks up and then brings them together for him to finish making them together.
So he's done all that as well then in this montage, is what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be the same as ordering equipment because you see him grinding the arrowheads in this montage.
Yes, I saw that as not necessarily making, just sharpening. So he could have already had those.
Yeah, he could have had a select few arrows on hand. I said we don't know because it's montage through. All of the implication to us as the audience, obviously, okay, he's setting up his quote unquote superhero lair.
Yeah,
Superhero Leia.
and yeah, we don't get to see the entire chest when he opens it for the specifically the bow.
No.
So
Yeah.
there could be arrows in there. I don't know.
What on that note, I'm like, could have picked a less conspicuous chest, my guy.
Yeah,
And I wouldn't look at that and say, "Oh, that chest has a bow."
I
If
mean,
that's what you mean.
it's
Or
still
are
a
you
little
saying it's just
odd.
identifiable because
It's
it's
just,
a unique looking crate?
obviously, it's identifiable and unique looking for us, but presumably he had to get that through customs, or he had it shipped in a different way. Either way, it's like you could have gotten something a little less conspicuous.
And that brings up a problem I had. Yeah, I was waiting for him to pull the Deathstroke mask out of there, or whatever mask that was on the
on the
beach.
island.
That was a Deathstroke mask, yes.
Yeah,
The
I
classic
was waiting
comic
for him to pull it
uh,
out of the
felt one.
chest, but he didn't. Ryder, since you've
Why?
seen it, does that come into play at all, or is that
No, he
it?
left it on the island.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's on the island. That was
he at no point does he ever bring the Deathstroke mask with him.
Okay, because this would get investigated to see if there was any malice, or not malice. What's the word I'm looking for?
Uh,
Premeditation with
yeah,
the yacht going down, they would have investigated where he was found.
Well, Crimson, what
Um,
I've learned of Oliver in this whole pilot episode, he has no care of taking his equipment with him. He loves leaving it all over the place. Leaves his arrows, leaves the tracking arrow that's
that's
taking
yeah.
the account money. Uh,
Hopefully the tech can't
yeah,
find what
can't
it's
trace
connected
it or
to.
anything. But he
Uh,
likes just leaving his stuff.
Yeah.
yeah, but Ryder says that the arrows are pretty much untraceable. So there's that. But the Wi-Fi one, actually, what did I call it?
Then again, leaving arrows is leaving equipment. Like
I called it the
Yeah,
it's
account.
but
just more
that's
time to
okay.
make it.
But that's like okay, but that yeah, he's taking time to make it. But at that point, the level you're thinking like, okay, that's like you're leaving a used bullet around. It's fine. I don't think
Mature,
you're gonna
but yeah, you're
reuse.
not. But
You don't
you
need
know,
to reuse it.
yeah, but it's not.
Like
It's well, I guess it is playing different because modern day. I'm kind of comparing it to like Daryl from Walking Dead using a crossbow. I mean, it's a
yeah,
silent
Way more
weapon, but he
valuable in
reuses
Walking
the
Dead.
yeah,
arrows.
it's
He's
Yeah.
not
they're
going
way
out
more
making
valuable.
more and more arrows.
Yeah, well, it's in Walking Dead, everything is scarce. He's not going to be able to get that stuff shipped to him because the world's gone to shit in Walking Dead.
No, true. And I guess Oliver is smart enough to
And
not have a pattern of form that could be picked up. It's like
yeah,
every Tuesday at 3 a.m. So this crate of bows go or
yeah.
Create a
It,
bows.
Ukrainian
these
wood for
arrowheads get
some
shipped
reason
to
keeps
this
going
tree
here.
every other week. Um, yes, the Deathstroke mask. Though. Yeah, I think the island would have been investigated once they found out he was there,
Maybe.
because
I would agree,
they would
except
need to investigate the wreck.
I would
I would
agree because
agree,
of the news
except that's
coverage.
explained away. Fortunately, that's explained away in other future seasons, but I don't know if I want to talk about that because that's heavy spoilers.
Okay.
But needless to say, higher ups wouldn't want the island to be
Crimson,
investigated.
Yeah.
someone down below spun a big wheel.
A big
Let's
wheel.
just say
So
that.
since we have higher powers in play here, would they have allowed a fishing vessel within the island's proximity?
At the point of which Oliver is returned, yes, because they would want him to get rescued.
Okay.
Uh,
Alright
I
then.
want to speak on another scene.
Go
But
on.
watching it. Uh, isn't it interesting that the kidnappers in quotes or whatever they had like sleeping darts for Oliver and yeah, but then they just shoot like a random guy who comes out of the thing.
The guard. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I did think that was funny. I think that's legitimately there to help justify what Oliver does because that's seemingly the reason that Oliver does take them out.
Well, he says he wants his identity
yeah, they
secret,
know.
Yeah,
unless you
but
think
but
that's just a fake
Well,
no, no.
excuse.
I think he would have stuck it out and played like Oliver Queen instead of Arrow if they hadn't killed them. Because the implication is like you killed that man, and that's what he says that while he's being interrogated, and then he gets tasered, and then they have the zip tie
is
conversation.
is a sleeping dart more traceable than a bullet?
Well,
I'm gonna
No,
be honest. I'm gonna be honest.
because
It's more sci-fi trank tech to me. I don't know.
Because if
I
they
mean they
shot
have
with a
stuff.
sleeping dart and left it in him, is that more traceable to be found than shooting him up with bullets with unmarked what was it,
Well,
untraceable
if
weapons?
they chose to spare him, they would have had to drag him with them. Like if they sleep darted the poor chef that came out,
I guess, yeah.
that would just be another person that they would have to lug with them for investigating purposes or questioning purposes.
with
Because if they just
trank
left
dart,
them there, that's a problem.
yeah, with trank darts, they could track down suppliers and maybe who purchased them, or if they're homemade ones, they could try to find what the ingredients involved in making tranquilizers. But that would be really hard to narrow down to
You'd also
whoever
yeah, but
purchased
like
it.
Remind me,
I
were
So
these
yeah,
goons wearing gloves?
yes.
Yeah,
I don't recall. I just remember their red masks.
I remember them wearing gloves.
Okay, never mind then.
Yeah.
Because they could have,
The
if they were not wearing gloves, then that would have been fingerprinted on the vial of the sleeping
the de-
darts or whatever.
the detective said all the weapons were untraceable and cleaned or whatever.
Yeah. Which also,
And based
that
off of
line,
writers saying,
scrubbed identities, untraceable weapons. These were pros. That shows me that.
"Hmm,
Well, after what we watched, these men were not pros. They were very
Ooh.
sloppy at their job. They were simply just hired by one. which I guess was the mom.
Uh, yeah. My whole opinion on that is like the first two could have been pros, but the guy that's running with the gun is clearly not a
Oh
pro.
no, he was very spray and pray and not leading his shots.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't.
Lots of plot armor in this
Yeah,
show
I
for
did
all of it.
not write
So
down.
Plot
I was
armor.
I almost wrote down
There's
stormtrooper like, but then I went, he's not aiming.
yeah, he's like the benefit of it is that he's clearly taking shots in a rush and then running. But so it is a step above Stormtrooper. But
He's just more
I
patient.
attribute I genuinely attribute it more to Oliver's plot armor than I do to them not being pros.
Yeah, there was two instances very clearly he should have just died in the
Yeah,
hail of bullets. One in this hostage situation where he goes through the door with like the flaps on the
yeah,
door. Uh, he would have died there. That guy stood there and aimed and shot and
yeah. And
just
then I think at the
completely
end
missed
as
him in
well.
a doorway.
Yeah, and then I think at
And
the end
then
as well.
Oh, what
and then
the
the
like the kick-ass hallway scene thing?
Kick ass.
No, my thought was when he's diving behind the desk and the guy's just spraying at him and he throws a fucking little arrow shiv.
yeah,
At him.
yeah, that was bad
Oh,
as well.
that
I guess that's three then,
and the
because
slow
that
mo.
was bad. Him entering the room through the main door, which was freaking stupid. I think that was the dumbest thing in this was his infiltration plan was going through the main door where they
Hey,
just didn't shoot him.
hey, that's where they would least expect you to come through is the main door.
Yes, but as the news headlined billionaire boy back from the dead,
I think yeah, the only tweak you would have to make is make the arrow come out from a different angle because right to the if you're looking at the elevator door, right to the left of it, that door is the door to the staircase. So I think it could have worked in a way that the elevator arrived, they all aimed their guns, and they shot into the elevator, and then the staircase door popped open and an arrow came through there. I think it would be a pretty simple fix for that. But I think I agree because I don't think I think it just shows the arrow flying out where we know the elevator is, right?
Yeah, I think so. He definitely would have died on that just assault of the office.
Yeah.
My biggest issue with this pilot episode is Oliver's plot armor during the fights. Uh, I think that to me did the most quote unquote objective damage because it's very easily noticeable.
Yeah.
I'll go to
And
a.
when we learn
Oh,
he's got bulletproof armor at one point.
oh,
See, I
his
thought that
hood.
was gonna come out that I thought that was gonna come out that like, oh, I got to put armor in this because I got shot, and nope, he didn't
And head.
pierce.
What was the implication that he was wearing bulletproof?
Well, he
Well,
took a
Oh yeah, you're
shot and
right.
then
You're right.
took
You're
the
right.
bullet out of it. Him.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, where's the bulletproof stuff? Ooh.
Word on the assault of the office.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know about the first,
That's a problem
because
for
that was
future
just him.
episodes.
Yeah.
That's a
Oh, that's
problem.
a later problem.
That's a later problem for future episodes.
Also, I would imagine the accountant arrow, as I called it, that'd probably be helpful for later episodes. But part of me feels like that won't come back up
He can
again.
make another one.
yeah.
Uh,
How
That's
many?
what I'm saying. Is it's an important piece of tech, and I think they'll probably forget about it. And
no, he uses something similar later on.
uh,
I don't. It's not used often, but I think I remember him using it
Yeah,
more.
I don't really know how many situations would require you to have like a Ethernet connected
I mean,
arrow.
most of the time he does what he does to Adam Hyde, which is he gives them the opportunity to pay back their debt, and then comes back to be I am vengeance when they don't. So as the Arrow reputation grows, the less the less time he has to take to actually do it himself, because the threat of his presence is enough when he pays a visit the first time. Sprinks, do you have something?
I have four things actually. Let's go with a thing I liked. I liked that the warehouse used green lighting for his like cave, I guess, that his hideout HQ. That didn't
I
come across as
agree.
unnatural.
I agree. I thought because I remember it being green lighting, but I kind of like it. It's like degraded floodlights almost. I think that helps.
I think it's because of the color of the walls and the flooring of the warehouse that the light bounces off of to give it green, which is nice. It's not just like he actually brought in green lights, because then it would be a little more egotistical, I guess.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
guess I'll throw something out there.
Throw it out there.
I'm throwing it out there. Going long. I have writer. Don't confirm any of these.
Roger, Roger.
Uh, Watching it, I have 3 people that I think will turn on him at some point. That hasn't already been revealed because I did suspect the mom, but that got confirmed already. I was thinking Walter because just the actor he typically plays bad guys, but not always.
Probably in cahoots with the
Yeah.
mom anyway.
But we don't know that.
We don't.
We just see her.
But
Yeah, we
You
just
asked
see
me
her.
not to confirm things, yes. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
not confirming.
So
Alright.
don't do it.
no, let us
Yeah.
steer our eyes.
Yeah, so I'm guessing he's going to turn on him. I don't know if he's his own agent or he's with the mom. If I'm correct, anyways. I think Tommy will eventually be a bad guy
Tommy
because
Merlin.
Tommy
yeah,
Merlin.
I don't know. You're gonna be like, that's a guy from the comics. How do you not know who Tommy Merlin is?
No,
Well,
no. I think
I'm
like
keeping my
all
mouth shut
except for
because that's
Green Arrow.
exactly what I could have said.
Yeah. Uh, so I'm gonna say him because yeah, close friends with the main character, prime betrayal candidate. Then who the heck was the third? Oh, the maid.
The maid. You think the
She's too
maid's gonna be?
nice. She's too nice.
Alright.
Plus,
Alright.
in Leverage, she was like a child trafficker. Okay, so
Oh, this
perfect.
isn't
Can't
leverage.
be
Okay.
trusted.
Alright. I will spoil one thing. Mostly because it's not relevant to any of the future episodes.
Okay.
This is the only episode Rises in. And it gets under my skin still.
Oh, weird.
How?
Was it a complication with the
Right?
actress?
Right, exactly. What you just said. That encapsulates all of my feelings about Rise. Like, they set her up to be a sort, not really like Alfred, but like a character that, that clearly,
She has a presence at the home. Do they never go
yeah,
back to the home?
they go back to the home all the time. Rice is just not relevant. I could be missing like one memory of her, but she is gone after this. Like
That sounds like it
this
had
is the
something
most
to do with the
prominent.
actress.
Yeah, this is the most prominent appearance that
I
Riza
don't know.
has.
Well, there's also like what? There's like 7 or 8 other characters in this show that seem like they're set up for doing stuff. It might have just been like, okay, we have like too many little stories we have to focus on here. Let's try to consolidate a little bit more.
Yeah. So
That's weird.
Yeah, right.
I mean, even if it was an actress thing, they could recast her.
They
Yeah,
could.
because
I mean,
they
they were-
recasted a bunch of other people.
Yeah, they recast Sarah, but that's the only one I'm willing to talk about in terms of like your theories because that's the only one that I was miffed by because they don't do anything with this relationship that they try to establish here.
Oh.
She
That
comes
was
across
one of the
as like
best
a
relationships in the pilot.
yeah, she comes across as
Yeah,
like a
that
nanny, like almost motherly figure, and she's absent for the rest of the show. Because I mean, like, there's so much drama you could do with that, especially now that it's revealed that the mother is
Uh,
not all good. You know?
it's too bad we can't go back in time and tell them they make a mistake and got to write in Risa.
Yeah, we lost the time machine with after the decades.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
can't go back.
Until we get it fixed. Um, I guess a gripe I have. I don't think. I know Adam Hunt is a little panicked, some kind of scared. Lights are going out, gunfire's going out. One of his goons makes grunting noises before you hear the whistle of the arrow go by, so I don't know why he's hurt. I don't know if anyone else caught
stabbed.
that sound effect. It didn't make sense to me. Um, but looking, less than a foot in front of Oliver Queen, who's simply wearing a hood and
And
green
grease paint.
Yeah.
paint. I think he's
Yep.
pretty still recognizable.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, he's the man in the green hood.
Hey,
I
you're
agree.
the guy that just got back.
Yeah,
from
he's
being
all
lost
over
on
the
an island.
news.
Oh, the dark lighting helps, but no, and not enough, guys. This like I think the shot of him on the car isn't good enough, but it's like he gets right up to Adam
Right
Hunt.
up to his
Literally
face.
is literally holds him. He looks up into Oliver's
Look
eyes.
into
It
my
is.
Yeah, he's not
eyes.
like a
It
good
isn't.
couple feet away aiming, a bow at him.
The
He's
only. The
Yeah,
only.
no, he holds him like a less than a foot away. It's pretty crazy.
The only thing like giving him any sort of like credit that it's like even if he knew who he was, it wouldn't matter. It would be like he's a billionaire playboy or whatever. So how could he have gone in and killed like 6 people or that's the only thing. Like nobody would believe him, but they do an investigation obviously in real life, so it wouldn't really be all that hard to.
he's also not disguising his voice,
They add a voice changer next episode.
but
Because of
he
that
didn't do it
because of
this
that
time.
Yeah, I
No,
agree.
but
Yeah, I agree. The reason that the voice changer becomes a thing is because he actually interacts with characters that actually know him personally at some form or fashion, which is smart. But also, I think the use of a voice changer here would have helped, considering.
Yes. I mean,
What are you
if
talking
Adam
about?
Hunt just went like, "Oh my God, it was Oliver Queen," and they're like, "No way, it could be Oliver Queen." He just got back, and they're like, and the mom's like, "Well, he's been evading his bodyguard. We don't know where he is. He says he's with Tommy. Tommy's like, oh, he's never with me that day," and then
Yeah, Tommy would
that's
say
pretty
that.
I
Yeah,
easy
can't.
to
right.
find.
Yeah.
I can't talk about the mother's motivations.
Wait, can't
Spoilers.
talk. Can't
I
talk
mean,
about
that
mother.
is unless you guys want me to, but I
No,
assume no.
I'm just saying, if Adam Hunt went,
We
"That's
have
Oliver
to.
Queen," it could have been. I think it would have been
We'd
tracked
have
real
to.
fast, especially with the attitude that the detective has against Queen.
Yeah,
That would have just fueled him more.
It
yeah.
must
Well,
have been
is
a
Adam
Minuteman.
Hunt the type of guy that would call it in or just take care of it himself?
No, call it in.
He would
4 of his
call. He would
goons
call it
just
in.
died.
Yeah. Look at that guy.
I mean, he does call it in. He
Eh,
explicitly gets.
Yeah,
He
he
wants the
calls it in for
police's
a
help.
trap. So he's
Yeah.
already 50% of the way there. He just never
No,
gave
no,
a
no.
name to
I
the
mean, if he
face.
No,
found
no.
out, no, if he found out it was Oliver saying that, he seems like someone who would hire his own guys to just take care of him and
No, I
to
can't talk
do it
about Adam
legally.
Hunt
Oh,
either. God damn
yeah.
it.
That's what I was saying on the hypothetical. If he figured it out,
Oh, you were talking about
I'm
hypothetical.
trying to
I
figure out.
think he would have said Oliver's name if he knew it was Oliver,
Alright,
which I believe he should have known.
I think he
I
would
agree. He should
say.
have.
I
I
agree.
think he would say, "I am Adam Hunt. That is Oliver," and then that would have been it for the whole thing.
Okay. So the only comment that I think you can make that's without being spoiler free, know that Oliver's mom still really, really loves him.
Oh, so
Like
you
really,
think if
really.
detectives came up questioning, she would have covered for Oliver?
Yes, to a point. There is a point that she would have done that. I can't really go into anything without spoilers because there are things that do happen later on, but her motivation, first and foremost, is to protect her family.
Fair
Okay.
enough.
About the family.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, it's
about the
about
family.
racing.
family.
So I know
Oh.
I recognize how that conflicts with the ending here, which is why I find the hook kind of
Nah, it.
I mean, it's not horrible, but we don't know what she's questioning him about yet.
I mean,
So there
even if she
is.
hired, even if she hired those guys, they probably wouldn't have killed him unless he actually started killing them. So
Oh
it's
yeah, like
yeah,
like I said, they clearly were going to just question him, probably
yeah,
knock him back out, because obviously she wanted him alive.
yeah.
But with what we have to work with,
Yes.
the only tidbit of your motivation that I think you need to know about that regarding the mom is that her family is first to her. Her family is the most important thing to
Yeah.
her. Because that does get pushed and tested as the show goes
Okay.
Obviously.
on. I had a theory. Oh yeah, I have an immediate compliment. I have a compliment and then an immediate criticism of the show. I really like Oliver offering the olive branch to Thea. The Hosen being
Yeah.
that it's a very nice touch. It kind of shows it's another way to show their relationship in that scene. Him calling her Speedy, which for us comic bookies who know who Speedy is,
Yeah, I go, that's not Roy Harper.
yes,
That's what
true.
I did.
Yeah, it's true.
Right. Yeah.
But
Name's wrong. Face is wrong. Body's wrong.
And while Roy Harper does have his place in the show, Thea is ultimately the one that will take the mantle. And I think I think it works for this universe and interpretation of what they're going for. But I think within that scene we get a lot of we get a lot of flush to their relationship that we don't really, that's also we get later on in the club. But this one's a little more
No.
sweeping, like they're just trying to reconnect. So I really like that scene, and then it's
See what you did there.
immediately undercut by Tommy.
Re- re- Um, yeah,
Tommy.
the Hosen looks like that was integrated into his bow design to some degree. Um, at least the visual markings on it are on his bow. I don't know if anyone
Uh,
saw that.
I did not, and I've seen this show a lot. Good catch. I actually like it even more now. And then,
Uh,
sorry, you're saying something?
I was just saying I have more details to cover, but one really cool detail that I did smile at and appreciate is when Oliver is introduced at the party, they play Queen.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's a
that
nice
probably cost
detail. Oh
a
yeah, it
pretty
probably cost
penny.
something, but that's a good
Worth
detail.
it. It's a good detail. I agree. Um, yeah. To give to finish out my point, which was the criticism I have. I don't like the instant tone shift with Tommy entering the room because
Yeah,
Tommy obviously is very, very. He's overplaying his part as the character, if that makes sense. He's a little too upbeat almost, which
Okay.
you might be trying to overcompensate for your seemingly depressed friend.
yeah,
Um, but I don't like Tommy's placement here, juxtaposing immediately after like oh hey, an arrowhead, that's cool. That's what a how sweet a gift is that? When it's all sarcastic and he leads into the joke about the shirt. I think this joke needed to be some just to get a little bit of tweaking done because I think the tonal clash there really undercut the Oliver and Thea stuff that I liked going on there.
yeah. I agree.
So
I
that
I
was
was
think
all
it's an
right with it
unnecessary. I don't know.
because it obviously it's annoying as an audience member, but I felt like it was part of his character to do that.
Well, yeah,
yeah.
he's the comedic relief. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not arguing it's out of character. I'm arguing that it's the my issue is that the
Just
writing
the
tone is
choice of
problematic here.
doing that.
yeah,
Yeah,
the choice.
yeah. Because obviously, in a better version of this joke, I wouldn't have him announce himself just by a dialogue. I would have had him knock and then come in, so we had that quick second to breathe before he walks in. Because the drama, the character done building done between Thea and Oliver isn't allowed to have its moment to breathe before we just immediately run into the comedic relief. Um, and it's always difficult to juggle tone in writing. I'll admit this up front. But it is a little another nick I think for me.
I think I said it earlier, but I do like the overall. I like the party scene towards the end because I feel like it's a little bit closer to what I like of Oliver, Queen's character that I'm familiar with. Not necessarily that it's the end all be all or whatever, but um, so I did like that. It I it did feel like I always have a problem with like TV show party stuff or whatever because it always feels so uh fake. I don't,
TV-ish.
yeah, TV. It's like if you watch Euphoria or something. I don't know. It just feels like it's like that's what I imagine a party would be like, but it's probably not anything like that or what. But that's just chop it up to it's TV. Can't really, it's hard to get away from that. And I did like though the character moment between Oliver and his sister kind of there. That was a I didn't see that coming, but I think it was worth it that it did happen.
Yeah, it's kind of Oliver obviously doesn't want Thea to replicate what he was doing at her
Mhm.
age.
Yeah,
Which is a good which helps build Oliver character and also helps build Thea's character even if her dialogue's a bit on the nose.
yeah, what are you gonna
Very
do?
self-aware for a 17-year-old, but I'm mostly okay with it. Again, Yeah, a lot of my criticisms, at least for the dialogue, is just that I just want to tweak it just a little bit. And I suppose that would be another scene is his scene with Thea here. I just want to tweak it just a little bit, but I still like the meat of the scene. You know?
Yeah, the message is good. I think it's just yeah, it's the execution is off.
Just a bit.
Agreed.
I
Actually,
think.
I got a question.
Oh,
Oh, go on,
never
Spriggs.
mind. No,
No,
Ryder, you
no,
go
no.
right.
All right.
Somebody go.
Okay, so I actually have a question about to you, Sinister, about the music.
Yeah,
What did you think of the music?
it's pretty good. Um, it's kind of your television standard sort of, exposition music.
Yeah.
Uh, Nothing too crazy. I think like the craziest thing I was like I didn't expect them to actually play like an actual Queen song. That was a surprise just because they don't really do that for like network TV. Actually get like, uh big name song stuff
Yeah.
because it's really, really expensive. So that was a surprise. But yeah, I mean it's fine. It's serviceable. It does its thing.
Yeah. One of
There
the
weren't any
things
moments.
that I'll tell a little bit about this to give you some more context.
Okay.
The artist Blake Nelly does all the superhero CW shows, and he does give all of them uh, their own themes. So you do the Arrow's theme song here is distinctly different from all the other superhero themes that you hear. I will say that Blake Nelly's quality as a theme producer for the shows does start to drop off towards Batwoman. Um, but like for Arrow, The Flash, and Supergirl, they all have very, very good, I think, theme songs to go with them and accompany them. So
Yeah, I can yeah. I think that especially if you have a universe of characters, I think that that's what you want to do is you want to have them be similar but have their own distinct trademark or their own distinct setup. So I think he accomplished that goal. I haven't seen all the other ones, but
mhm.
I'm sure they all work in that way.
All right, Spriggs. Sorry, it's your turn.
No, no, no. All
Go.
good. All good. The shot towards the end of Laurel and Tommy going out to the car of like their hidden relationship thing, situationship maybe thing, and Laurel walking away. I think is the most CW shot in this whole pilot, especially with the
I
music choice given.
agree. I agree.
It was
There's
very
nothing more to
teen
add.
drama,
Yeah, Riverdale
especially with
vibes.
Oliver watching them of like the jealous or
Or the
sad.
stalker.
Yeah,
Why was he there?
I don't know. It
Cuz
also
he
kind of felt like
yeah.
that could have been the end of the episode by how it was kind of played, but there's still a good another like 6 7 minutes left.
I don't think there was that much. I think it was
No,
like 2
it
minutes.
wasn't that
Yeah.
much. Yeah, too. Because after that, it was pretty much just the lawyers finding out that the money was distributed and
Yeah.
the mom reveal. That was pretty much all that was left.
No, it was just the mom reveal after.
All right, happy medium, three and a
Yeah.
half.
Okay.
All right, 2 minutes, got it. The lawyers, uh, interesting role. They didn't have much of a
I think
presence
I
in
like
this. The
lawyers.
court case or whatever. They didn't have,
Yeah.
or well, legal aides. That's what their positions were.
They're legal aid
Um,
options. Yeah.
yeah. Uh,
I was gonna
the
say,
case was just there. I feel like it should have had more of a presence or no presence. Obviously, it was there to introduce Laurel
Adam Hunt. Yeah.
and Adam Hunt.
Yeah. I actually think it actually is what gives Oliver his first target.
Well, I mean, sure, yeah, probably put him on top of the list because he was on his list anyways. So
Yeah.
I'm
So I mean,
sure. Sure.
prioritize.
Just the
It
case itself seemed like it just was there because
yeah.
obviously he also he took the bad guy out and he also helped the case. 'Cause the case itself wasn't really involved in anything. It was just there in the back.
Yeah.
And I
Adam
did do the
Hunt.
math. If he sent out 50,000 to each person with the 40 million, that means there was 1,000 people in that class action suit.
Uh, they weren't all 50,000 though.
Yeah,
Some
no,
of
Were
they
they
them were
have.
like
different?
two, yeah, they
Yeah,
were like
they're all
20.
varying different
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
money
then
owed them. That shows on Oliver's screen as well.
yeah. It's like there's like one that was like 2,500. There was one that was like 1,500. It was just
okay.
that one lady or one person, I guess, got like 50,000.
Then never mind.
Never
If
mind.
it was 50,000 a person, it'd be 1,000 people.
Could be more. Could be less.
There's a really silly detail I noticed uh,
So,
that fits, but I just think it's funny. Did anyone notice how much fruit is in this pilot episode?
a lot of fruit.
To be honest, no.
No.
Go
No?
ahead.
I think there was fruit in places simply for a way to ease Oliver back into modern society because of him being stuck on an island for a long time. That's why when they're in the hospital, there's half an avocado on his hospital tray. It was very out of place to me of why there was an avocado there. And then at dinner, Oliver has oh, what was it? I think it was peaches on his plate. And then when Isaiah comes in to talk to him, she has a whole tray of sliced fruits to give him.
That's funny. I didn't notice.
I thought it was just to like ease to comfort of what he's been eating the whole time, so it's not culture shock to him.
That would be a good detail if true.
No,
Um,
no comment.
yeah, I don't really. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't have the
I don't really
information
have
on
much
that
to
one.
add on to that. It's like that's cool if that's a cool detail if it's true, but we don't really get any confirmation on that. So I'm just gonna try and say possibility. Um,
Interesting if true.
Writer, just curiosity. Does Judge Grell ever make an appearance in the show, or does he
uh,
just name dropped
not.
here?
There are some like courtroom scenes, and I don't remember the judge's name though, so I
Oh,
can't answer that unfortunately. So it's a possibility, but I don't remember.
Was this like um probably a little late to be asking this question, but was this ordered like as a pilot and then they went forward with the series after, or was this always like a series like like this? They were gonna have a full season of this from the beginning, and then we'll just have
They had a
like
full season from the beginning.
okay. I was just curious because sometimes the plot gets retooled a little bit as it keeps going if they order just a pilot. So I was just curious that might be part of it or not.
we get a whole unit
Oh,
of varying levels of success and quality.
da da da. This is also
Spring,
before Netflix
anything
bought
more?
like a bunch of Marvel stuff, right?
Yes,
Okay,
this was
Yeah.
2012, so before.
Yeah, when
Uh,
did Daredevil
er,
start?
yeah,
2014,
no,
2015,
yeah, Daredevil was 2014, I think.
2015,
2015.
2015. Well, yeah, it probably got bought in 2014.
Yeah. I guess it was nice for the budgeting. I had to watch it 3 times just to double check, but that explosion on the fire at the beginning, I
It
believe
was
it was real.
practical and CG. It was combo.
It was combo. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm like
Figure that out.
the
Obviously, the
arrow
distance
was
shot
fake.
was.
I know the arrow was fake,
Yeah.
but the explosion
The
itself, I
arrow
went,
was
that
fake.
looked pretty real.
yeah, it's similar to what they did with Scott Pilgrim, but not nearly as good looking. With the
Well,
Katsunagi twins, when the
yeah.
dragons fall on the DJ boards or whatever, whatever they're using. That was a practical explosion, but it was
Turntables.
also enhanced with CG. So they did the same thing here.
Gotcha.
Wow, it's almost like we talked about that like a couple episodes ago or something.
Trying to marry CG and practical. Yeah.
Yes, because that's
Yeah.
that's the best results.
I
Yeah.
had to double
Was that an
check
explosive
this.
arrow he used? Or
No, I think he hit something
No.
that was
Yeah,
explosive.
he hit
that
something that
was
was
an explosive
explosive. It
thing
was
there?
just
Yeah,
a
he
Okay.
shot a fire arrow
yeah.
into something that was explosive.
I think he
Because
like
I wrote that
flinted
down
it.
too, and I'm like, I as a joke in my notes, I wrote, "Huh, he had explosive arrows stored away in emergency."
Yeah.
But he didn't have any flare arrows. Shoot him
Uh,
with.
the CGI yacht was probably, I think, the CGI.
Yeah, I gave it a pass because 2012
Well,
CW
yeah,
visuals.
it's yeah TV
It's not
show,
the
but
worst
that
thing ever, but it's certainly not good either.
One of the benefits of Arrow is that they could tone down the CGI and use it like more sparingly than a show like The Flash will, because The Flash just has terrible CG all the way through.
Well, because it has to have CGI.
Because it has to have CG. Yeah. But that's one of the benefits of Arrow is that you don't have to commit to having CG all the time.
I
For
did I did like the scene when he makes up his little lair or whatever, and he shoots the tennis balls. I
Mhm.
like that they cut it and they didn't show him actually shooting them, like, going forward. It was only after, so they minimal CGI to have it fit.
Yeah. The only
Practical
CGI
use.
error was the last shot.
Yeah,
I was the last shot even CGI? I don't think it
I
was.
I think so, just
No, well,
because of the
I'm
tennis
referring to
balls.
I'm referring to the shots with all the arrows and tennis balls in the wall. So the
Yeah.
final shot of that of the arrow going through the tennis ball wall,
Yeah,
I
that
think
is
CGI.
yeah, that's
Oh, that
CGI.
looked real to me. I think it
It
was.
looks really good, right? But I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it's CG.
It's I think it looks really good because it's so small, so it's really easy to yeah, it's bigger stuff you get the problems
Oh,
with.
I thought they did the technique like oh, what was that movie? The Anna Kendrick and Mr. Right,
Mr. Right.
where
It's
they
right,
did
yeah.
the scene of tossing knives. It looked like they did that technique of
I mean, they
one
did, but
shot
Oh
they
no!
just
and
Oh yeah,
then
yeah.
like parallel camera, and then the next shot is probably someone standing a foot and a half away from the wall with an arrow drawn. So it actually, but the tennis ball's already on the arrow.
well, yeah, no,
Yes.
yeah, but
So
the
I at
last
least
one last one is not.
my guess as to how they would have done it is that it was CG up until the wall. Like once it's in the wall, that's when it's practical.
Yeah.
That's my guess how they
I
would
was writing notes at that time, so I don't know.
have.
It's really fast. You'll like blink and you miss it kind of thing. It could be not CGI, but I'm pretty sure it's a mix of CGI and practical,
Okay,
just because of
okay,
the nature of how fast it is.
that works.
I'm looking at my notes. Where so we have. I'll read this verbatim just because I think it's funny.
Mm.
We see Arrow studying up on Adam Hunt, the book with names, and Riser bringing him food. Again, they show a close bond between them. It makes me wonder where the hell she went for the rest of the fucking show. So funny notes.
Yeah. So,
I guess something to play in since we're talking about CGI and budget use. They made a custom DC logo at the beginning with the arrows flying.
Uh,
I was
yeah.
that a later thing
I'm
that
pretty sure that's a later thing though.
yeah,
Oh, it wasn't used for pilot. It's just
for
because we
for
watched
for
it
Arrowverse
now. It's
stuff.
added in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it that was that
Oh, okay.
they started change. Hold on, I actually looked it up. I don't think so, but I would be surprised if that was there from the beginning. But I don't remember that there when I was binging on Netflix back in 2015.
Okay. Well then,
This one let's get fact
take it or leave it.
checked. I'll jump
Maybe.
to since it's only pilot and don't know what's going on further. I find it a little odd that Tommy's connecting dots so easily, and even Larry Noodle was already kind of curious about the
Just
party being there.
stop
Um,
calling him Larry Noodle.
that's what I
It
wrote in
do-
my notes.
Sarah's
I
dad
that's such a
It's Larry
not
Noodle.
intimidating name at
I
all.
know it's good.
or
Larry
Laurel's
Um,
Noodle.
dad, either or.
Larry Noodle.
so I don't know how well the secret's gonna stay together. I don't know how long that's gonna go for. Obviously, 8 seasons still has his identity, but I don't know how many hurdles he has to jump to maintain that because it's already getting figured out in the pilot by people like,
Yeah,
seeing dots.
Um, that actually is handled fairly well in the fourth or fifth episode, I think.
Okay.
They actually it's played off. Okay, I guess it's spoilers, but I won't. I'll talk about it without actually giving spoilers. It's played off as he is he has factored in to his calculations that yeah, people are obviously going to make the connection because I come back right now, and obviously this guy is here too. So he works that into his calculations, and it becomes a bit of a story arc of how almost he frames himself so that he can get out of the way. If that makes
Very,
any sense.
frame
Sure, I'm
himself to
fucking
get out of the way.
yeah. Sorry, it's like he frames himself to then remove the doubt to to get then when it's disproven in that story that they're the same person,
Okay, I
they
see.
don't look at him with doubt. They don't see it. They don't make the connection to him being
Yeah.
Oliver or being the Green Arrow. Um, but that's the only time that it comes up that I'm going to speak up to bring about because I think it comes up again like in season 3 or 4 and it gets really bad.
Well, thankfully we're not there yet.
Yeah, thankfully nothing to worry about.
The window that he jumps out of in the office, I didn't go
Yeah,
back to check, but was that previously damaged, or did he just jump into it and it shattered?
Uh,
it was previously damaged by gunshots, I
Okay.
believe. Uh, to answer your question, Sprinks, it looks like that the DC logo was made for the Arrowverse specifically. Once they blew up and exploded, so that's was
Okay,
added
so it was
on
not
post.
there at the beginning. Okay,
Yeah,
then that was not a factor of their budget to begin with. Good to
no, that's when they got a budget because they were doing really well.
uh, no, I don't think that the window he jumps through had bullet holes in it. He just it the guy Larry Noodle was like shooting at him and he hit like the window right next to that one and then he went through it.
Then that's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, those type of buildings, you wouldn't be able just to shatter that by jumping into it.
It's cool that he set up his escape early, the first thing, which
Yeah.
they could totally see, by the way. But it's still cool that he set it up first. But yeah, he would not be able to jump through that door without it being without it being damaged first.
It'd be funny if someone just remade the scene where he just bounces off the window and
And
then
it's
gets shot
Gets
or
arrested.
captured or something.
That would be funny. That would be funny.
Man,
I
I
would
could have
watch
swore that would have broken. Oh,
my
a
neck.
Bruce
Oh, I'm
version.
paralyzed. Oh.
A Bruce version, how it should have ended.
Yeah.
So
In
ends
an
there.
alternate universe, when Oliver Queen went on his first mission, he failed.
Failed.
episode 1, show ended.
Over.
No, that would
Um,
have been funny if there's like a crossover event where they go through alternate Earths
Oh,
and they
oh,
find that one.
multiverse.
Yeah,
They're
like
like,
the
why
one
didn't
where
you
he
become
doesn't go
Green
through 'em.
Arrow? And he's like, I tried jumping out a window and it wouldn't break.
Pretty good.
I used to be an adventurer like you, but I took a glass window to the
ah,
face.
busted into the face. Police offer
Yeah.
bullets to my hip.
Now I'm just gangrene.
Yuck.
That is gross. Does anybody
Uh,
else have anything? I kind of don't have anything else to touch on really.
I have one
uh,
last thing, but it's kind of a doesn't matter, but it was something I noticed.
There you go.
Is
oh, well then.
the reveal of the sister coming down the stairs and everything? She's adult enough that she could have gone to the hospital to get Oliver, but she chose not to. So
Yeah, what do
I
you
know it's
mean?
played of like a real reveal. It's like, oh, my long lost sister. It's been so while, opposed to Oliver turning around to the hospital, seeing his mom and then his sister there. I guess either could
Well,
be played out, but
No, she was
well,
busy doing drugs.
yeah,
well,
She's
and she
supposed
sure,
to
also
be a
goes
yeah.
to
drive.
school.
She also
Also goes,
school.
yeah.
Yeah, she
There's a
does.
So
myriad of things.
there's a few myriad of things. Yeah.
And she did fight back, but then again, it's the party scene, so her attitude's definitely different around friends. But she did
Yeah.
fight back at Oliver, saying, "Hey, I thought I buried my dad and brother who were dead," so that kind of
Yeah.
shadow over her to begin with.
My
So
mom had her boy toy, and I had nobody except for drugs.
yeah,
One thing. I guess I have a small detail to talk about. I actually like John Dougal at least until the point he gets knocked out. But I like that he's keeping a close eye on Oliver. And
Trying to do his job.
he's trying to do his job, and he fiddles with the button of his suit twice,
Hmm.
back to back. I don't know if it's a character
The
thing
same
or
button?
same button. Yeah,
Oh.
so
Yeah, that's probably just a continuity thing.
it's a tiny continuity error that I found kind of funny.
Funny.
Um,
I'm in agreement with Sinister. Other than that, I have nothing else.
all right. Well, I'm kind of reaching the end here as well. So, Crimson, do you have anything?
Um, During the chase scene with the guys with the red masks, the kidnappers,
Mhm.
I was wondering why the guy took his mask off.
Couldn't breathe.
Probably that would be the excuse that they would give, I think,
I don't know.
which is
It just seemed like a
reasonable enough.
random thing that I thought was gonna have something behind it, and nothing. It was just a guy throwing his mask off. It was a little weird.
Just reasonable enough, I think. But yeah, I get that.
Um,
Um,
Oliver's decision with the $2 million bounty. Um, it's an interesting one. Do you think he hyped that up a bit too much?
oh, I think
Put
he's.
spotlight on
Oh,
Green
I think he's
Arrow?
just
No,
Or?
playing up the asshole bit, and it will feed into the that episode later I was talking.
I think this is him in a way that he can publicize the news of Green Arrow, so it's not secretive behind police doors.
Well, yeah, because obviously Green Arrow wouldn't put a bounty on himself.
Well, not I
No,
guess
I'm just
so. Yeah,
yeah.
played in that. I see it as him like Green Arrow's now a thing, and it's not like a
Oh, like
myth.
I am Iron Man.
Kind of, but not like
Yeah, yeah,
not
Obviously,
like
he's not
early,
giving away his
yeah, not
identity.
early
Yeah.
work Batman, where the cops are like the Bat did it, and it's like the Bat doesn't exist. There is no Batman, or they
There's
go
no
like
Papa.
this is Green Arrow saying, "Hey, I'm in the city. I'm here," kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess for me, it's a little different
Yeah.
because it obviously brings light to Green Arrow, but it also incentivizes people to look and pay attention for him as well, which could potentially just make his job as Green Arrow more difficult.
Yeah, when
People
he's
are
chasing
actively
down
looking
someone and
for him for
paparazzi
two
gets him.
million dollars. Yeah,
I don't even think it's just genuine bounty. I think he's doing it just to the party members to kind of get the cops out of this party.
Yeah,
that could be. But then they message their friends like, "Hey, two million
$2
dollars
million.
for anyone." Yeah,
There's a contract.
it's a big thing. He didn't say, "I'm just kidding, guys. Let's just party."
I'm just kidding, guys.
Bring me the
He
clown,
threw it
dead or
out there,
alive.
for the world.
Yeah,
Oh
it can be played through a few different ways. But obviously the intention is he's just being an asshole to
yeah,
Noodle.
I'm just trying to see potential ramifications of that action.
Why is my Discord being weird?
Because I'm sure that does the 2 mil ever get brought up again or anything like that?
No.
Yeah, figured.
Figured.
Figured as much.
Everyone's so drunk, no one remembered.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're all drugs, weed, and alcohol.
Drugs.
Drugs.
Um. Yeah,
Other than
think
that, I think that's it.
I think that's it for me as well. So, shall we move to ratings and summaries, gentlemen?
I believe
Sure.
so.
All right.
Oh, Springs, did you get your lost bit that you wanted? You said you were going to
Oh,
talk about that.
it. Uh, you know what? It affected my subjective score.
Yeah, probably lowered it.
They didn't have to touch on it, and they did. And it tells me about Tommy's character.
Well, then that's a good thing then.
Sure.
Tells you about the character.
Yeah, it does.
so
But
it
it's also
raised
a jab at
objective and
Lost.
lowered subjective.
I mean, could be. Definitely lowered subjective. Could be. I know it's played for the fact of like catching Oliver up on things he missed, and it's just a connection to something that has to do with an island of a similarity.
Mhm.
But
And obviously, Lost was a cultural phenomenon at the time that he was
Yeah.
gone.
yes,
So
That and
it
Twilight.
makes sense that it's something to reference.
He's been gone since like 2007. It came out
I
in
guess so.
2012. 5 years.
Yeah, I
If
mean,
they're being
I would
current.
imagine the show takes place at the time. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's cool because it is a cultural phenomenon to reference. In the same way that Twilight is a cultural phenomenon to reference. Uh, I'm more familiar with the Twilight like joke than I am with the Lost
I
joke,
don't.
obviously, because I
Was he
haven't
talking
finished
about?
Lost.
Yeah, was he talking about Bella from Twilight?
Yeah.
Like, who was he
Yeah.
referencing?
Well,
Kristen
think
Stewart?
about how many. Yeah, think about how many women are centered in Twilight, and then.
There's a lot.
Well, yes, but who is the
You ju-
main
Yeah,
woman in
okay.
Twilight?
Kristen Stewart. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
Lost came out in 2004, right? So
yeah, but it would have been going on for years.
Okay.
Oliver
Yeah,
probably would have heard of it.
okay. The implication, right, is that Oliver came back uh, in 2012. That's when he's returned from the island.
That
Yeah,
is
so for
Means
2
true.
years.
Lost will have finished when he left.
Yes, it would
Yeah,
have.
you're saying in the ending of Lost,
Because
yeah.
Tommy did talk about
So,
season 6 stuff. So
so yeah, and if you're looking for timeline stuff, that's fine. All right, Crimson. Why don't you start us off with your rating summary, sir?
Okay, I'll do just that, writer. Thank you very much. Summary. It was a show. It was good. Good pilot. It was better than I thought it was going to be because CW, it just has this aura around it where everyone knows it's trash.
Everything but Buffy.
That's a different time.
oh darn, so disappointed about the Powerpuff show not being made.
Oh, don't worry, I'm sure that's on the back burner for them.
Why did you remind me of
Ugh.
things?
God, the the set photos for that.
No, it got canceled. It's done.
For now, everything gets remade. All right. But yeah, overall, it was good. I'll just go to my subjective, anyways. I'm not good with the summary section. Subjective, I enjoyed it. I could potentially see continuing it, at least up to my writer says it stops being good. Let's see, end of season 3, you said.
Yeah. Well, season 3 is where I consider it a middle of the road season. Like it's a lot of good mixed with bad, and then after that, it just keeps. After that, it's more about the crossover stuff than it is about the show. So.
Okay. Loses its way a little bit. Its way.
Yes.
Loses its way. The characters were all distinct, and none of them bugged me. Running through my head with it. Yeah, none of them were annoying to me, which is always a bonus. Tommy's usually the kind of character that would annoy me because he's so happy and arrogant, but he didn't. I actually quite liked him in this pilot. So subjectively, I'll give it a 6. Well, it's bounced between 6.5 and 6, but I think I'll give it a 6. Objectively, even though it's a decent show, it's still a CW show. There's still some problems with it. CG is serviceable for the time and the network it's on, so I don't think I'll mark that down for anything. I do like that they attempted with the fire that it's practical and CG. I think personally I would have just stuck with the practical look because I think the CG part of that fire stood out as not looking right. The plot armor of Oliver is pretty staggering on this pilot. I don't know how egregious it gets in the future or anything. Writer pointed out that they aren't consistent with the bulletproof armor or something. Hinted at that a little bit.
I did hint at that. I'm not going to comment on it anymore.
Yeah. So there's so many times he should have just, if not died, definitely been shot. And we see him get shot once, and it wasn't even at the egregious parts where he should have been shot. His strategy for entry, I don't know what I would have done, but I would imagine there's better opportunities than just taking the front door. The windows probably would have been a good entry point. They're pretty weak, apparently. Well, he already had a zip line set up to them. The dad shooting the raft, really mean of him, considering he wanted his son to live. A little unfortunate.
Pretty rude.
Sank the raft and shot the guy off the boat with all the rations. Really unfortunate. Really a miracle that Oliver survived that ordeal. The mom reveal, I agree, wasn't inappropriately added to the pilot. Should have been held on to. I think Larry Noodle's dad reveal is okay here. I would agree it could be better further, but I think it's okay here. I don't think it's completely out of place. His identity would have definitely been revealed to what's his name?
Adam Hunt.
Adam. Yeah, to Adam, definitely. He would have figured it out. His face is all over the place. Billionaire survived an island for 5 years. He would know. Plus, he knew his father. Adam knew his father, presumably through that list. So I would imagine he'd know his son regardless. And just the accountant arrow. it's interesting that that's left there because I do feel like that's trackable. The arrow stuff, I think Writer did a good job explaining that away that they deal with that, but the accountant one, that one seems like it could potentially cause problems if a good IT guy was put on that. So overall, well, and I think the music is okay. I don't think it's amazing or anything. It's just it's adequate. There was one little snippet of the music after he hugged his mom that I liked. Other than that, it was all right. So I'll. Darn, I keep thinking of new things. The acting, acting was decent. I knew like half the actors in this. I really think Walter is a bad guy because he makes a good bad guy in Limitless, the TV show, not the movie. But he makes a good soldier too. If you watch the Evil Dead movie, the, not Evil Dead movie, Resident Evil, right?
There you
The
go.
first Resident Evil movie. Uh, I won't say what happens to him on that one. So objectively, I'll give it a 7.5.
All right. Sinister, you go.
All right. Uh, I definitely enjoyed this like I'm not gonna say the whole show, but I guess I enjoyed this episode or pilot of the show more than I expected. I would. Um, I was pleasantly surprised that it, especially given the CW's track record, that it was not as trashy as I think some of this. Obviously, I think the superhero stuff might be handled a little bit differently than maybe like something like Riverdale or what have you. But uh, yeah, so I'm pleasantly surprised that this was handled pretty straightforward and wasn't kind of too out there and crazy. Um, I think Crimson kind of hit on a lot of like the big uh, gripes that you could have with a show like this. Um, so I won't really retread that water. Say what I liked about it. I think the music was done well. It was serviceable, but it worked, and that's always for a TV show, it's a decent benchmark. Always have it be work, but still be somewhat nuanced. Um the acting was done pretty well. There was some hammy moments and definitely some just your run of the mill network TV stuff, but I think especially the Oliver main actor did a really good job. Um, this was surprisingly better than I thought it was going to be. There's still some problems that just can't really overlook. So I think I'm going to go with a 6 over.
All right. How about you, Sprinks?
Oh boy, me. Let's see. Let's start with subjective. It's a CW superhero show. It's okay. It held my attention, but I don't know how far. I mean, I furthest I've gone, I don't know what episode it was, but I think it's still season one with Deadshot. I stopped, like lost interest. This is my third time seeing the pilot. It's a good pilot, um, but it's definitely got that CW feel to it. It's not campiness, but it's just this tone that they do with their work. I guess their production that they do, and it's okay. I mean, it it's not something I'm against or, but not necessarily forward or like would recommend to people. So it's just 6.5 for subjective. Objectively, I think the camera work was very well done. I think they didn't overuse CGI. It was okay. It looked a little weird, but it wasn't overdone. The music, decent. I do really like the thing that they gave Queen to Oliver Queen. I really like that part of the music. Acting was okay. Um the uh, choreography of fights was okay. It wasn't a lot to it. It was mostly Oliver, kind of just pinning someone. Or it was like just a fast motion, like a 1-2 punch, opposed
Mhm.
to sometimes when choreography isn't the best to be used in a show like this. It's a lot of like very fast camera angles to look like a lot of things are going on, but in reality, they don't have the choreography to do so. And this show didn't have that, which is nice.
Want to add on a little more?
You, me or you?
No, me. I'm asking if I can
Oh yeah, go,
add a
go,
little
go,
on.
go. Yeah.
Yeah. So, the thing about the choreography varies from episode to episode because obviously it depends on the director. Um, but I do remember season one overall having really really good choreography as we go later in the show. But I think as far as if I'm comparing for the rest of the show, the first episode it has okay, it's okay.
Okay. Lighting was normal. It was just very natural lighting. The one thing that I pointed out was the green lighting of the lair, but that was cool. Um, Nothing really big with costume design. I mean, the Green Arrow costume, like this very beginning, he's in the dark the whole time. There's not much to it or to be shown or flashy. But at least he has something to cover himself up with, even though it's a hood and paint, but still something. Um, yeah, it was fine. So objectively, give it a 7.
Parroting a lot of my friends here. I'll get the subjective out of the way. Kind of gave it with my history. I rewatched this enough to the point where it's just background noise for me. I still enjoy listening to the first two seasons pretty much as background noise because they were just great to listen to as background. But I still quite enjoy them. So my subjective is a 7. Objective. Crimson hit all the major points, so I'm gonna focus on uh, characters. Oliver's plot armor being the most staggering part of it. All of this, um, but I think Oliver's character, having seen where the show goes, I think there's a lot of foundations to be had here. Even in isolation from the rest of the story, this works as a pilot. We get a small arc. We get a lot of setups to the arcs he's going to have to deal with going through the rest of the story here. Being the duality of life that he has to live, both as Arrow and billionaire playboy. Um, I think Laurel is probably is serviceable here, but she feels secondary, and I think it's a smart choice to use her to introduce Adam Hunt because it makes her feel more important to the story. Even if her role here is pretty much drama based in that she's Oliver's ex, um, and Oliver slept with her sister before she died. Um, so her role here is mostly relegated to being Oliver's more emotional side of the story. But we get to see her in at work pretty much, which is a very small thing, but I think it adds a lot into her sense of justice and what how potentially she would go through the story as it goes on later. I think Tommy. I really love Tommy, uh, and I'm kind of in agreement with Crimson. I'm not really annoyed by him. I think I had only one issue in terms of tone when it comes to his character, and that's because it really, really kind of disturbs what would have been, I think, a very, very good scene. And while it's in character, I do think tone is still an issue to be taken with it. Um, Thea, uh, I think I cracked it a bit of a joke. She's very self-aware as a 17-year-old as she talks to Oliver at the party. But overall, I still think the meat of everything they're doing with her is pretty solid. Um, the detective, we kind of talked about the reveal of him being Laurel and Sarah's dad. I think it works very well. It's helps his twist at sort of at the end, or the reveal is kind of it recontextualizes the tension with him and the Queens earlier on in the show. Um, and then think that Adam Hunt, serviceable one-off villain that is brought back later on. Fine. Um, again, as Crimson said, knows who Oliver is. Obviously, just by fact of how close he was, and you can look into the man's eyes more or less. The mother within this episode, I think she's fairly consistent. The only thing that would be off-putting for new-time viewers is the twist at the end, because you really don't. It's obviously a hook at the end, and that's the only thing that people would probably see as incongruent with her character. So, within the context of this first episode, I think she's mostly serviceable. She's a caring and loving mother with the brief times that we see her. Um, and she has like a little bit of Walter. She has a few scenes with Walter that help add to the new dynamic in the Queen household that also lays a foundation for writers to play around with as they so choose. So I think, the world building. Uh, I think I praised it at the beginning. It's pretty much it's very condensed, and at the very beginning, so we get all the history, and we are fed enough to contrast with the modern day of how he was back then, which only adds, I think. So as far as world building is good, I think the world building is great. Plot is pretty simple. We discussed the issues with that and the plot armor and how other things could potentially lead to other things. You heard my co-hosts obviously theory craft a bit. So uh, overall, objectively, I think this is also a 7 for me out of 10.
Okie dokie.
All right, gentlemen, shall I read us out?
Yes,
Yes,
please.
I think so. Yeah, we
please.
got the season finale next week.
Yeah, coming up. Uh, all right, everybody. Thank you for listening. Whether it be Spotify, Anchor, Amazon, Castbox, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, and Samsung. And if you're on the YouTube side of things, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and tell us how much you hate our opinions or how much you love them. Uh, as always, I have been a geeky writer,
I'm Crimson around.
I'm a character called Sinister Boy.
And I'm Sprinks.
and we will catch you next time. Later, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Toodaloo.